Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
Good morning from Dominican Republic, 7 a.m.
Sorry for the delay. With some computer glitches here.
Greetings from Warsaw, where it's 30 degrees and the weather is beautiful. And it's 1 p.m.
We're here in Brasilia. It is 8 a.m. here.
Good morning.
Oh, we have a lot of people. Well, early for me.
Good morning from Croatia, and it's actually not morning here. It's 1 o'clock. I'm glad to be able to join you.
Excellent.
In Italy, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Good morning
All
from
right.
Poland, Matteo.
Good morning from Spain. It's 1 p.m.
Que viva España.
Sí, sí. Hola, Brasilia, ¿cómo va?
Muy bien. Muy bien.
And it's
Muito
9
bem.
p.m. in Australia.
Oh, I was going to say it's 9 p.m. in Australia. Just
Australia.
after football semi-final.
Good afternoon from Nigeria.
And for all those Australians, I'm wearing my Geelong top because it's going to be Geelong's year.
No, the Lions will win.
Yeah, good afternoon from Turkey, Izmir. Good morning from Poland.
Good afternoon from Nigeria.
Morning
from Australia,
or good evening for 9 p.m.
Bom dia do Brasil.
Well,
Good evening from India.
nice to meet you.
Good afternoon from Mongolia.
Ciao a tutti dalla Sicilia.
Buongiorno.
Good afternoon from Ukraine.
Ukraine. Excellent. Don't we need peace?
Yeah.
Buongiorno da Roma.
Da Roma.
Buongiorno.
Nice to
Viva
meet
gli
you.
italiani.
Hello from Germany.
Hello.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Hello from Virginia, USA.
Welcome.
Anybody from Switzerland?
Hello from India.
Hello.
I don't see OZUEM in the meeting, so I'm trying to locate him. OZUEM, if you can raise your hand.
So hi, my name's Steve Killelea. I believe I'm giving the presentation this evening. So we're not sure of the formality of OZUEM's not there. Is there someone else who can take over and chair? Because I'm afraid I don't know the format for the meeting.
All right. Well, I'm trying to find our convener so he can explain it to us. Let me see here.
Hello, hello. Good morning, Mateo from Poland.
Good evening from Australia.
Nice to meet you.
Good morning, Mateo. I'm from Poland as well, and I don't think we know each other. But it's nice to hear you there.
Now you should get together to have a coffee together.
Well, I'm having mine here.
Hello, good morning. Ruwaida from Cairo, Rotary,
Wow.
Cairo, Nile Valley.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Madrid, Spain. Nice to meet
Bienvenido.
all of you.
Bienvenido, Miguel.
Muchas gracias, un placer.
Bienvenido, Miguel. Saludos desde
Ru-
Brasilia.
Y Rubén Goico desde República Dominicana, esperando
Obrigado,
este
obrigado.
evento.
Hola, Rubén.
Oh,
Que
Dios
viva el
mío.
merengue.
Sí, señor.
Eso vale tanto para República Dominicana como para algunos madrileños.
Sí, señor. Esto es un evento muy bonito, así de todas partes del mundo aquí reunidos. Esto es fantástico.
Yes, beautiful to see everybody from so many places.
This is the key thing of Rotary. We have people from all over the world, and we should be more doing things together, because we
Absolutely.
have the more we go together, the more we're stronger.
Excellent.
That's correct. That's correct, my friend.
But
Yeah.
this is
Hello, good
exciting.
afternoon.
This is exciting.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Wilson. I am the chair of the Peace Fellowship in District 2451, Egypt.
My God.
Shukran.
Congratulations for the International Day of Peace today.
Yes.
So we are two from Egypt until now.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jackie. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And two from Spain, because Marlene Derfel is also in Spain. Nice to meet.
Yes,
nice to see you,
Miguel.
Marlene.
I'm here. I'm so happy you're there. I saw Steve Killelea was there.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Hello, Steve. Steve is from the IEP.
Yes, that's right.
I'm one of your ambassadors.
Oh, that's great. You're in Iberia, are you?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Okay. I'm really impressed by the number of countries with the audiences. I think there's about 63 people online, but I reckon I've probably heard 40 different countries so far. It's an amazing international audience.
It is.
That is
I quite agree.
that means many translations of the 8 pillars of peace.
Exactly. All right. With those that's not here, should we get underway? What does everyone think?
I am trying to get him on the to WhatsApp him here, but he hasn't. He sent me an agenda, but I am reticent of starting without all our speakers on board. So that is the reason why I am waiting for him. I am supposed to be doing the Q&A session, but the convener is our Rotarian fellow OZUEM from Nigeria. So trying to identify him. So OZUEM, if you are here under another name, please raise your hand.
I saw somebody else from Nigeria because
yes, Jose.
Yes, my name is Jose Panzo from Angola. So this is my first time to attend the international Rotary meetings. I think this will be interesting for me today.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Obrigado por estar aqui.
Muito obrigado, muito obrigado. Abraços.
I've been there in Angola for some project evaluations.
Really?
Yes, I was in Lobito, Bengala.
Lobito.
Yes,
Bengala.
with our Rotary fellows there. Yeah, beautiful project, beautiful area.
Very good, very good. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Fellows, while we wait for OZUEM and the rest of our speakers, I just going to make a small commercial. Rotarians are participating at the COP30 meeting in Belém in climate change. Of course, we're going to be addressing a lot of issues related to climate change, including the connection with peace. So for all of you, all the issues of displacement of populations because of water stress, heat waves, we're going to be taking some agendas. And the Rotarians have arranged for a partnership to have a pavilion in the COP30. Which has taken a lot of effort, but we will be there. And ESIRI, which is the Rotarian Action Group for Environmental Sustainability, is undertaking this, the COP process, as an ongoing activity from this point on. And this is something that I think Rotarians should know. And if you're interested, just drop me a line in the chat. I will leave my information there so we can exchange some ideas. And of course, if you are related to in any ways to climate action in communities, we are very interested in knowing your ideas and proposals. And that was the end of my commercial. OZUEM, where are you? Okay. I will stop the recording so we save some tape space. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't planned this way, but our convener hasn't arrived yet. But we have people from all over the world here, and because of the time zones, and it is very late for our speaker, Steve Killelea, we are going to start this meeting now. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are. And this is the mega meeting for peace. And
Alberto, open your microphone. I'm sorry, because I close all of the microphones. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, good morning, good evening, or
Can I speak?
good afternoon, everybody. We are going to start our meeting today. Our convener hasn't arrived yet. I think he might have some technical issues. But this is the mega meeting for peace. And under the theme that the People's Assembly, the Rotary mega meeting is marking the United Nations United Day for Peace in 2025. And for that, we have our speaker today, Steve Killelea from the Institute of Economics and Peace, connecting from Australia. So we are, without further delay, going to get started. Steve, the floor is yours. And please make your auto presentation since we don't have too much of a protocol here today.
Sure. Okay, great. Well, I've got a slide presentation. Basically, what I'll be doing is covering the state of global peace, come back a few slides on what creates peace. And for those who are on here who are activators or who are ambassadors for IEP, you'll know it very, very well. And then I'll come back a little bit and cover some of the functions and the engagement that the Institute for Economics and Peace has had with a Rotary over the years. So I'm just going to start by trying to share my presentation. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, excellent. We'll get ready to go then. All right. Okay. So what will cover is the state of global peace. There's a few different things. I'll cover a little bit on the background, the Institute for Economics and Peace, for those who don't know it. State of global peace, what creates peace, and then finally finish with IEP's engagement with Rotary. And then sort of we'll open it up for Q&A for about 15 minutes, I think. So originally, this is aimed to be about a 15-minute to 20-minute presentation, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. So the Institute for Economics and Peace was set up to understand the intersection between business, peace and economics, place a special emphasis on metrics to measure peace, and then to ascribe an economic value to changes in peace. Founded in 2008, we got offices in Brussels, New York, Nairobi and Manila, headquartered in Sydney. So last year we had about 75 billion media impressions globally. That was from about 23,000 different articles. So the work we've got's used extensively. The work, let's say the work we've got on the economic cost of violence, the global economy. We've had multiple successive UN General Secretaries represented, and like we do about 200 public speaking events a year. I do about 40 or so. To just give you an idea. Referenced a lot for the research. So last year there were over 2,000 academic articles, published papers, which reference the work. And we do a lot of work and a lot of research, contract research for organisations like UN, multiple different divisions, World Bank, Commonwealth Secretariat. And we literally have over 1 million copies of our reports downloaded each year. We have an extensive ambassador program. Got 6,500 now. We're averaging at the rate of about another 1,000 per annum, which is really quite something. And then we don't know how many countries, but certainly well over 150. Trained about 250,000 people on our positive peace now through our online surveys. We do workshops with a whole range of different communities. So, well, let's have a look at the state of global peace. So there's 4 major themes which come through from this year. The first one, which we'll be doing more research on this over the next 6 months, is, if you like, what we call the great fragmentation. And I'll have more on that a little bit further into it. So if we're looking at geopolitical fragmentation, it's the highest since the end of the Second World War. What most people don't realise is the rise of middle-level powers and the influence which they have, which I'll come back to. And we've watched China on this meteoric rise, but we think its influence now has peaked. And it's not that it's going to go away, but it's not going to be moving forward at the pace it has in the past. And there'll be a little bit more on that further on. So if we're looking at the state of peace, we've got 59 active state-based conflicts at the moment. And that's the most since the end of the Second World War. Now, a lot of emphasis on the Ukraine, a lot of emphasis on Gaza. But in 2024, 17 countries recorded more than 1,000 deaths from conflict. And beyond that, we now have 78 countries involved in conflicts beyond their borders. We've developed metrics for being able to measure the likelihood of future increases or increases in conflict. And there's a number of them which we can see. Syria, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Kashmir would be some. And I think the others, militarisation, what most people don't really realise, that military expenditure, the average militarisation of countries had actually been dropping for 17 years. And that reversed 2 years ago, mainly because of the Ukraine war and the rising militarisation of China. Now, as we can see conflict increasing, we're finding that the amount of money spent on peace building is decreasing. So if we're looking at peacekeeping, peace building expenditure, it's down about 34%. The number of peacekeepers are down 42%. So for this audience, this is a really key message. If we don't invest in peace, how do we hope to be able to create peace? You don't. You won't create peace through investing in military. Now, military investment in times is really important, but on the other hand, it doesn't necessarily create peace. So now, if we look at this, this is a quick map of the world. Green is very, very good. Red is very, very bad. Russia's the big part up the top. The two major areas of South Asia and Middle East and Africa are the areas where you've got the major conflicts. And so now if we go back over the last 17 years, this is the state of global peace. Now, the measurements we do, if the lines go up, that's bad. So as we go back, we can see that peace has only really improved 3 years in the last 17 years and stayed flat for 1. In fact, it hasn't been a year of increasing peacefulness since 2015. And this has all been driven by conflict. So the index consists of 3 domains: militarisation, internal safety and security, and ongoing conflict. And internal safety and security, it's actually improved. Militarisation had been improving, but conflict has just been increasingly getting worse. So now, this will give you an idea. Here's the 17 countries which have got over 1,000 conflict deaths. Now, all those countries you'll all know, and you'll all realise that they're really highly unpeaceful places. But the scope of it and the scope of it and the number of places around the world is really quite significant. Now, if we go back and we had a look at it, so we can see here the number of total conflict deaths has actually improved in the last year. But if you look at the trend line, it's up, and it moves. You can see it moves around a lot. But it shouldn't be fooled, because last year was the second highest number of people killed in conflicts. We can also see that the external conflicts fought are going up. And we can also see the intensity of international conflicts also increasing as well. And this is really the basis, I've already said, fueling the levels of force in peacefulness globally. Now I'm going to come around and talk about what we call the great fragmentation. And we believe the world is entering a new era. Since the end of the Second World War, there's been 2 eras, and we're now, we believe, entering the third. So the first era was obviously the Cold War. The second era was the unipolar world, dominated by the US after the fall of USSR and communism in the Russian bloc. But what's happened since 1991 there were 14 countries then which had what we'd call a significant influence in another country. By 2023, that had increased to 34 countries. And so we can see this rise which is going on. So now if we're looking at the US, and we can all aware of what's actually happening in the US at the moment. And if you're looking at Europe economically struggling. And so what we're finding, these rising powers, there's a number of them, the increases have been dramatic. So like, for example, Turkey, Chechnya, India, South Africa, Hungary were all countries in 1991 which didn't have substantial influence in another country. They now have substantial influence in 10 countries or more. So I'll give you an idea of just the change. So now we can see traditional powers like the UK and France, they've recorded the largest drop in influence, and they're what we call great powers. Now, if you're coming around to the superpowers, like China and the US, so the US today remains the most influential company globally. How that pans out over the next 3 years is difficult to say, but it's followed by China. But China, for a number of reasons, we think is at the zenith of its power. So its actual influence through the measures we have hasn't really changed much in the last 3 years, certainly hasn't got more. Can also see now that it's got a gross debt of 300% of GDP. That's where we're at the same level as what Japan had in the 1990s, and then it's lost 20 years. So from to get and be able to solve the debt problem, it's exceptionally difficult. But that's combined with a drop in inbound foreign direct investment in China, which has dropped 95%. Just take the figure in, 95% in the last 3 years. So most of that direct investment came from Europe and came from the US. And we can see the struggle which is going on with China and these other places as well. People are stopping investing there. So for China to get out of its current economic issues will be very, very hard. So we went back to 1991. Here's 4 countries and just give you an idea of the influence they had. Note China, note India, Turkey, then Australia. Now, as we move forward to 2023, this is the change. And so we can see an expanding energy. If we move away from the superpowers and look at these rising middle-level powers, they're mainly interested in their own regions. They're really not interested in getting too close to either of the superpowers. They want to keep relationships as best they can with both. And they're very much trying, and sometimes in competition in their own regions with those superpowers. Now, violence comes with a cost. And so if we're looking at the cost of violence, the global economy was 11.6% of global GDP in 2024. Now, that's just about $20 trillion. So that's an awful lot of money. That's an awful lot of money. Now, that equates to about 2,455 for each person on the planet. But what I want you to realise is the poorest people in the planet live in conflict zones. And so the biggest benefit would go into the countries in conflict. So there are over 40 countries now that have a lower per capita income than 2,455. And they're all, most of them are in conflict. So if we can reduce conflict, that goes a long way to solving a lot of the poverty issues and development issues in many, many parts of the world where it's most critical. So just give you an idea of it as a percentage of GDP. So if we look at the Ukraine, it's costing about 68% of their GDP currently each year because of the war. So if we went back now, we looked at some of the countries like Ireland, which is highly peaceful, that's at about 2%. Even Australia, which is the country I'm in, it's at about 7%. So this money, you can't get back again. It's not like a recession. When you have a recession, you generally go down, and then the next year you have a big jump back up. But with conflict, it's lost for all time. So we'll just have a quick look at terrorism, and we'll have a look at attacks. This will give you an idea of where attacks have occurred globally. Size of the circles are the size of the attacks, and we can see that the Sahel, which is in Africa, the northern end of sub-Saharan Africa, is the area affected the most. We can see it in the Middle East. Then again, you can see it over in South Asia around Pakistan. Now, deaths from terrorism when in 2024 didn't really move. They're about the same as what occurred after you allow for the Hamas attack. Attacks were about the same, so deaths, attacks are really about the same, not much change, but there was a big jump in the number of countries affected by terrorism. In fact, it was up 15%, so 58 countries to 66. Well, 45 countries deteriorated, 34 improved. But what I would say, and this is back to conflict again, 98% of all terrorist attacks occur in a conflict zone. So we want to stop terrorism. Best way to stop it is really through looking at stopping conflict. The 4 deadliest groups in the world killed 11% more people. Now, what we're finding, there's a rise of lone wolf terrorism in the West. So 7 Western countries are now in the worst 50 countries in the world. But 93% of all those deaths caused by lone actors, only 7% by groups. Islamic State remains the most deadliest group in the world, and it's active actually in 1 more country, 22 countries now globally than it was in 23. In the Sahel, Burkina Faso is the most affected country. Mali and Niger are the 3 countries most affected, which are all in the Sahel. So this will give you an idea of the countries, their rankings as we're going through. What I'll come back and emphasize is that all these countries are engaged in a conflict. So this will give you an idea of just the number of countries which have been killed. Sorry, it just gives you the number of countries affected. So in the West, if we're looking at terrorist attacks peaked in 2017, that was with the Islamic State. And they've decreased every year up to 2024, where they've jumped by 60% up to 52. And there's been a surge in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic instances since the start of the Gaza war in Europe, Australia, and the US. The 2 months at the start of the war, in the US, anti-Semitic attacks were up 270%, Islamophobic events up 30%. And 8% of the attacks in the West were only carried out by a group. We're finding that radicalisation's happening faster. In 2022, it took 16 months. By 2015, it was down to 10 months. And today, in fact, it can be weeks. And we're noticing the number of people under 18 committing these offences increased. In fact, in the UK, it was 42%. In Europe, it was 20%. So the people are becoming younger. So let's come back and just have a look at what creates peace. What we'd say is it's positive peace. So the process which IEP does is we've got about 50,000 different data sets we use. We run statistical analysis and mathematical modelling to understand which factors are most closely associated with peace. We turn that back round into another index and produce what's called the Positive Peace Index. Now, the beauty of this piece of research and the reason it's so popular is because it's empirically derived. It's got nothing to do with my ideas or researchers' ideas. It's purely derived through empiricism. And then once you turn it into an index, you can now determine what else is statistically related to peace. And so we started with peace, but you probably could have got to this through starting elsewhere. So peace is systemic. From our perspective, it's not really causal. You've got 8 different pillars which are covered here, like well-functioning government, sound business environment, equitable distribution of resources, free flow of information, good relationship with neighbours. low levels of corruption, acceptance of the rights of others, and high levels of human capital. And they come together and operate systemically. Now, when we look at this, what we find is that positive peace also drives a lot of other things which we think are important. So countries which are improving in positive peace compared to countries deteriorating have twice the per capita income. They're much more resilient. Through COVID, the countries which are high in positive peace bounce back much quicker. Countries low in positive peace, many of them still haven't recovered. You get better performance on environmental measures. You get higher measures of well-being and happiness, and better developmental outcomes as well. Therefore, positive peace in many ways describes an optimal environment in which human potential can flourish. Now, positive peace is really taking off. We had activities last year in over 150 countries. Some of them were very, very small, but that was the scope of the activities. As I mentioned earlier on, we've got 6,500 ambassadors, adding about 1,000 a year. The Chief of Defence in Nigeria, so for those in Nigeria, recently wrote a book on positive peace. What he was doing was looking at how to stop the various insurgencies in Nigeria. First 3 chapters covered the insurgencies. Next chapter covered the 8 pillars of positive peace. And then each of the next 8 chapters is what you need to do in Nigeria for each pillar. We've got a lot of strategic relations, world vision. They've adopted the positive peace and are rolling it out globally. We're working with the Philippines government. The president of the company announced positive peace as their whole of country approach to try and improve peace in the country. We'll be developing measures right throughout the country. Northern Ireland, they're adopting positive peace as well. They're rolling out in many different ways there. And obviously Rotary, which you're all to some extent familiar with. So they're just some of the strategic partnerships we've got. And just give you an idea of examples of the positive peace. Iraq, we've been training religious leaders there. Libya, we traced 300 young leaders who then went back and did programs in each of the countries. That was the height of the civil war. Thailand, we trained women leaders on peace initiatives along the Thai-Burma border. Colombia, training with ex-FARC combatants, community members on how to exist harmoniously. In New South Wales, we've got a major project with Multicultural New South Wales, which is be looking at how do you actually get better harmony between groups when they migrate to Australia who may have been in conflict in their home countries. We've developed a number of successful programs through Rotary as well. One of them schooling in Uganda, which was quite successful. So that's some of the ideas with some of the projects we've done out of the thousands of them now globally. We do work with all sorts of different groups, Indigenous groups, religious leaders, police, military, done them in universities, African pastoralists, and done them on social cohesion. Now, we've got a 7-year partnership with Rotary, and it's been gone well and going very, very strong. We trained 379 Rotary Peace activators, which are based in 95 countries. And that's quite something, who are then going out and doing projects based around positive peace. So from those 379, they've now done about 1,400 different activities around the world. And these activities have reached about 15 million people. So it's quite substantial, quite a substantial amount of work. So congratulations, Rotary. Over 11,000 Rotarians have now done the Rotarian Positive Peace Academy, and that's separate from the Peace Academy, which we've got online on our websites. And we regularly, as I'm doing today, present at major events, including conventions, like many presidential peace conferences over the years, and the global conferences as well. Now, we're currently in the process of developing new resources for clubs. The aim of that is to be able to access district and global grants. And the partnership's alive and well, and we've got much more positive announcements coming in the near future. they're not being publicised yet, so I won't mention them here, but there's a lot more positive stuff coming. So that, my friends, is the end of the presentation. So I'm going to stop now, open it up, and we'll take questions, I think. Great.
Thank you, Steve, for such a comprehensive presentation. Of course, some of us, Rotarians, are becoming more and more aware of our first area of focus, as you know, is one of our 7 causes, the promotion of peace and prevention of conflicts. That is how we had phrased it before our partnership with the Institute of Economics and Peace. And I believe that for some of us that are not the experts on peace, but definitely we agree with the systemic approach that constructing peace is not just the absence of conflict or the absence of wars, that constructing peace is a day-to-day effort. And that is how we Rotarians and Rotaractors, working with our communities, we need to have it in our minds in every humanitarian service or project that we provide. We already have 3 questions or comments that rather than me reading them, in order to make it a more dynamic here, if we can start with Eve, do you want to phrase it yourself, or do you want me just to read your questions? It's up to you. Let me just make sure that you can activate your phones. So Eve?
Great. I can unmute myself. Thanks very much. Very informative. And, I know we've had a lot of work going with the Institute for Economics and Peace and Rotary. So my question is a fairly basic one. So how can Rotary actually have an impact and make a difference in a world that seems to be in more conflict, and I think it is in more conflict than ever in our history? So what can Rotary do to have an impact in this very dangerous world?
So it's a very good question, and it'd be different in different countries in the world. So the challenges to peace vary from country to country, obviously. So at the club level, there's always projects you can do within your existing areas. So with the 379 Rotary activators, they can always do projects within your local area. So the idea is to look within your local areas, determine what the needs might be, and it can be things, anything like the assimilation of new immigrants, for example. It might be working with the youth in schools, running workshops there to work with them. We've done them with Indigenous people down here. And you provide a small amount of money, like I think it was $8,000. And so what they did is they went away and no one listened to them. So they went away and made a movie about their life. And then we worked out a couple of different places where that could be screened. And that was credible for their self-esteem. So that's a little example. So the Rotary project in Uganda used the 8 pillars of positive peace. What that did, it was a schooling program or a literacy program. And they've been working at it for 2 years and hadn't had any change in the literacy. Then after taking the positive peace framework and using that to reframe the way they were working, the number of people attending the school doubled, and the actual scholastic performance doubled. It went from 30% of the people in the top 2 divisions within the district to 60%. And part of that came down for tackling literacy from angles which they'd never thought of. And so one of them was providing a feeding program at lunchtime. and cost a couple of cents a kid. But that meant the brain stayed active in the afternoon, which meant they could concentrate. And that's went a long way to doubling the academic achievement. So now there's all sorts of things in different parts of the world you can do there. Now, if you're getting into some of the larger conflicts, really sort of as a group, and this is a incredibly impressive group you've got here. So the new president-elect is very, very keen on peace. So he'll be very, very active. In fact, he's an IEP ambassador. So we're expecting him to have a big focus on peace during his period as president. So I think what you can do as a group, you come together and you can lobby your Rotary for the things you think are important. Come together as a group. Work out, survey amongst all yourselves, ranking the things you think are important. Then try and look at how do you get a global grants to focus on those issues you think are important. So that'd be some of the ways which I think you can, which you can work on it. But I think to solve global peace and the environment within, making Gaza, the Palestinians' lives reasonable, or stopping Putin, there are things which are beyond the capabilities of anyone on this call. They're big global things and they require massive global action. But lobby for the things you think are important.
Thank you, Steve, for such a comprehensive view. And thanks, Steve, for your question. Now we have Susan Benedica from the E-Club of Changemakers, which, by the way, I had a conversation with them yesterday about climate change and COP30. So go ahead, Susan.
Thank you very much. A similar question, but bringing it down to a club scale. So we're 36 members, we'll grow to 40 members quite soon. We're a medium-sized club. We're based in Australia, but we're an international club. We've got people in Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Japan, Papua New Guinea. What practically could we do?
Again, it'd be very, very similar answer to what I gave to Eve. Look in the local area you're at, understand where the issues are, and then start to try and address it. And so certainly at this stage, there's a lot of polarisation within Australia over the war in Gaza, and that polarisation is increasing. So there are things you could do in your area to bring people together. A lot of the time, when you're looking at these things, quite often you can see it in Europe in particular with the rise of far-right anti-immigration parties there, particularly UK in particular, and Germany, even Sweden. And so a lot of the time it's displaced anger. So you can get the people and really understand what their anger, what the true roots and the anger's about within your local communities, then start to publicise that and start to try and present that. That's one way of going, but it's difficult because a lot of the time it'll come back to quite often socioeconomic conditions. Then that causes displaced angers, which can then be against immigrants or against different groups within society.
Thank you again. Now we have Dr. Suresh Maran. Would you please open your mic and phrase your question? Oh, well, Suresh? Okay. Well, the question was how to contact Steve to further discussion and research. I think you provided your contact.
So what I'd suggest is to contact the Institute. If you go to our websites, we've got two. So if you went to Vision of Humanity, you'll find inquiries there. So if you want to put down an inquiry, send it in, and then we've got a whole series of mechanisms being able to respond depending on the type of inquiry. We've also got a chat bot. And so if you went down to the bottom right-hand corner, you'll feel a little green square. And so you click on that, that'll put you into chatbot, and then you can ask any questions you've got on the research we've got, and it'll come back with an answer. So we've got an AI LLM on the back end of that.
Thank you, Steve. You are getting a lot of requests for additional presentations. Valentini from Rotary Club Me Digital. Could Steve participate in a Zoom meeting with our Rotary Club to present these informations?
So it's probably difficult for me because I'm under a lot of time pressures, but we can certainly always get someone to give a presentation.
Yeah. Well, do we have any other questions? We still have about 7 minutes more before we do some concluding remarks. Oh, I guess.
Yes, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Steve, could you say that website again? Because I'm very interested in what you've said.
So visionofhumanity.org.
Of humanity.
Yeah, if you do a search on Global Peace Index, it comes right up at the top. And you click on that, takes you to the site, go to the home button, then you're in. I think Tony and Bill have got questions.
Thank you.
Alberto, may I ask a question?
Please, I have Bill and Tony. If you are not phrasing your questions, raise your hand with the button, raise your hand so I can see you. There's 80 people, 75 people in the meeting. So go ahead, Bill and then Tony.
All right, Steve, again, thank you so much for your work. Our club began 5 years ago on Peace Day because of your work with the IUP, so thank you so much. But my question is, our club each year does a peace building conference, which will be in February this year. Michael Collins was helping us quite a bit last year. We've focused a little bit on Northern Ireland as one of the real success stories of positive peace. So I was interested in your comment. Northern Ireland was right up there with Iceland, or Ireland was anyway, not necessarily Ireland.
Ireland's right up the top. Northern Ireland is a province within the United Kingdom.
Right. So my question is,
sorry, go on, Bill.
Specifically, what has the IUP done in Northern Ireland?
Right, okay, no, that's good. So we've just signed an agreement with Queen's University to develop a Northern Ireland Peace Index. That's being funded by the UK government. We'll develop an index to measure it down to the postcode level within Northern Ireland. There's also a group called Cooperation Ireland, which is the main group working on trying to improve the peacefulness in Northern Ireland. And so they've adopted the framework as well. So when I was there, I met with what's termed the Executive Committee for the Government of Northern Ireland. And they'll be putting to the ministers that they adopt positive peace in a similar way it was adopted in the Philippines as a whole of a province approach to trying to create peace. And then there's a number of groups up there which use positive peace in the workshops which they do. So now the state of in Northern Ireland, it's so much improved from where it is, but you still haven't got a lot of mixing between the Royalists and the Catholics. So so they've got the areas are pretty much cut off. In fact, they've got fences between a lot of the communities. So they've got now these interface areas which are between them. And one of the problems is the kids, because they always go to their local school, but the schools then are predominantly from either the Protestants or Catholics. So there's not a lot of meeting. So what they're finding is that if you went to the centre of Belfast, now everyone goes down there and feels safe. It's pretty good, but they've found that sort of the level of improvement in peacefulness plateaued some time ago, and if anything's come off. So just recently, for example, there's a lot of displaced anger towards immigrants. In fact, it was burning of Roma houses, and then even then starting to focus on the Filipinos who were immigrants there as well. So it's got this. So Northern Ireland's got its issues here, but it's compared to when it was a civil war, it's really, really, really different. So went around a lot of the problem areas within Belfast, and they show where the sort of barracks there used to be, where you'd have 500 or 1,000 soldiers barracked, and police stations which were like an armed fort. So all that, there's remnants that are still there, but it's an incredible improvement on what it was.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now we have Tony Robertson from Brisbane, Australia. So since you both are in the same time zone, you are more or less with the same level of attention as well.
Yeah, but we have better weather in Brisbane, of course. Steve, really good stuff. I do a lot of work across social media and communication, and just wondering, had you any thoughts? I'm looking at the whole thing like, to what extent is the International Day of Peace going to be promoted across our Rotary social media stuff? Are we doing enough, do you think? Or do we need to make a bigger commitment? I'm even looking at your page and that and thinking, gee, there are resources here that I'd love to share across my district and stuff like that. Have you any thoughts about how we might be more effective in the way we use our social media? Because communication and accurate information is, for me, one of the platforms for building peace, to making sure people have information that is accurate and that. So have you any thoughts on the way we might use our social media tools?
Yeah, look, I think with the advent of AI, there's just areas opening up which are not phenomenal.
Yeah.
So look, for me, for each of the courses we're going to do now, there's going to be an introduction from me, but it won't actually be me. It'll be AI generated. And so that's like time for me is really precious. So then we'll be using more of that. So you got my image, you've got my voice. We'll develop a script, and then the script will come back through my voice with the same intonation as what I'm using now. I had a conversation with a guy last night, which was illuminating. So this guy is developed a documentary, is interested in doing another one. But he's looking at taking some of the great thinkers of all time, and now over the last 120 years, let's say, and is going to create an AI avatar of them, which will have their image, look like them, will use their voice, and then have an LLM or an LLM in it, where it's got all the things which they've said. So people like you, Tony, or me, we can talk to it as if we're talking to Albert Einstein. So these are just some of the creative things. I think for me and you, we're probably past it, and most people on the call. But like TikTok, how do you actually get at the young people using TikTok? How do you actually create themes of peace? So like so stuff which actually appeal to young people and will get them motivated. So how do you create that? How do you create that digital image and something which really, it's like one of the concepts I had at one stage, which I thought would be great for TikTok, would be dancing for peace. Okay, so you just get everyone doing different moves. Okay, with whatever movement they've got for peace. So it's the creative side of it, and obviously you're a creative guy, Tony. Maybe you got some great ideas to do. So how does Rotary, for example, and you obviously got to be Rotary as an organisation can't do it because of obviously some of the political connotations which can come out of the piece. But how you as Rotarians, as a group, come together to have something which is some sort of shared thing, which appeal to social media as well. So yeah.
It's interesting, Steve, you mentioned.
So here's another one. How do you get 3 or 4 people who are actually working in social media, which are members of Rotary, which are willing to put decent time in it and come together and work out your initiative?
Well, thank you very much, Tony, for your provocation. We need to do more in order to outreach as many people in Rotary as well as in our communities about such an important theme and our first theme, our first cause in Rotary. Now we have Sutithi Bose, and this will be the
Alberto,
last...
I need to speak with Steve. I've been saying I want to talk on the meeting.
Oh, Arthur, I didn't see, you didn't raise your hand. So, okay, after Sutithi, I give you the floor.
Okay, so a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the peace builders who have joined from across the world. First of all, I would like to wish a very happy International Day of Peace, which is tomorrow, but in advance to everybody who is doing such commendable work with their Rotary initiatives. And though one of the pillars of Rotary is building peace, I personally feel, and since our vision is also together, we create unity and build lasting change, and we are working on collaboration. So my question to Sir is that since peace has been one of the cornerstone work of Rotary, so I would like to know when there has been warlike situations in between countries, what has been, whether Rotary has intervened in such situations to mediate. So that's very interesting facet I would love to know. I have been involved in peace building initiative for a very long time, and in difficult situations when countries have been through warlike situation, we have been in a very small way played a small role. But I would like to know more about Rotary's initiatives, whether through a lot of community project works, Rotary is doing a lot of peace initiatives. But I would like to know when there's a warlike situation, what happens, whether Rotary has intervened, and UN has been a very integral part of Rotary's work. So that is my question. And thank you so much for bringing such interesting topics on such an important day and enlightening us with such conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have Arthur. Please, Arthur. And then Jacqueline, and that will be our last intervention. If you want to have further questions, please write those in the chat or the Q&A box. I will forward these questions to Steve, and hopefully we can get back to you if you provide us with your name and email. Arthur. Arthur? Oh, he dropped. Let me, well, in the meantime, Jacqueline, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for your informative lecture. My question is about, I am from Egypt here, and you know that all the borders of Egypt are very hot, and we received about 10% of our population from refugees from different areas like Sudan, Palestine, Ethiopia. And now, as Rotarians, we have to work to serve the refugees. Regarding my question regarding the Peace Center, I found the translation of the Peace Center program in all languages except Arabic. And I know that the Arabic people and the North Africa is a very hot area. Why you didn't translate it into Arabic? This is the first. And the second question is about refugees. And what is your advice to us as Rotarians here to help this additional 10% of our population? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm very surprised it's not in Arabic. I thought we had the translations in 40 different languages, and obviously Arabic is one of the key languages in the world. Which resource was that?
Yeah, in the Peace Center, in the whole Peace Center, I tried to get the course, and I found all translations into hundreds of languages except Arabic. Yeah. So I want to. Yeah,
So that wouldn't be an IEP resource. That would be a Rotary resource, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I think you need to contact Rotary. Rebecca Crawl is the person to go to in Rotary. She runs that program. But the work we do, I'm sure it's in Arabic. I'm sure it's in Arabic. We'll find out on Monday. Just make sure, and if it's not, then I'll work out why it's not. But I thought we were in 42 different languages. But but I'll look into that. I don't think it'd be one of our resources. The second part of it on refugee camps, there's so many different approaches to refugees. The problem is with 10% of your population, and given the economic constraints within Egypt at the moment, it's incredibly difficult. The government doesn't have the money to provide. But when we're looking at Gaza at the moment, I think one of the fears there is and we can see with the comments which have been made by far-right ministers in the last few days and by Donald Trump, that their aim is to rid Gaza of Palestinians. So one of the ways they do that is they'd open the borders up into Egypt, which would be disastrous for Egypt. And so that would be the major concern there. But if we come back to the situation today, so there's a number of different ways of being able to tackle this. One is with the international aid. UNHCR, it hasn't got enough resources anymore to feed a lot of the refugee camps. So places like Uganda and Kenya, what they're doing is they're taking the refugee camps and they're turning them into villages and then incorporating them back into the country rather than keeping them isolated in camps. So that's the approach they're taking there. Now, obviously, all that is sort of very dependent on the position which local inhabitants take towards refugees, which I don't know how they feel in Egypt. So it's a very difficult situation. So maybe the real thing is for the government to really try and work with some of its more wealthy neighbours like the UAE or Saudi or Kuwait, to see if they'll work with them in terms of sort of funding the development of infrastructure into the refugee camps and sort of looking at sort of being able to develop the areas so they can actually end up sustainable lives, because in the long run, a lot of them aren't going to go back home. We find with the refugees from war, the majority of them tend not to end up going back home, because by the time the war's finished, they've created roots somewhere else, and whatever they had in their homes has been destroyed, their land's been taken, so it's very, very hard for them to go back. For natural disasters, it's different. They do go.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for your beautiful presentation. I think it was very informative, even for some of us that are not so much into the peace area of focus, that we have a keen interest, as I mentioned at the beginning, because of the relationship of our causes in Rotary, and pretty much aligned with the Institute of Economics and Peace of the 8 Pillars of Peace. We also see that a lot of points in which we connect our causes with those pillars. And definitely all our grants need to be looking at that systemic approach as well. There was a question from Wlth if we can have grants to helping refugees in Egypt. I would refer Wlth to our guidelines in the global grants for specifically for our area of focus of peace, and see and work with your district grant officer or contact the cadre for peace, the technical advisors, that we can help you put together a project to the extent that our resources allow. This takes us to the end of this session. I think we need to have more than this. We need to thank Steve for his time, especially at this time of the day for him. We really appreciate you staying up so late, and for some of us early here in the Americas, and also the afternoon in Africa and Asia. It has been truly a worldwide dialogue in such a very very constructive approach in which we Rotarians can assume in order to bring a lot of peace to our communities. It is a pleasure to work with the Institute of Economic and Peace. We had peace symposiums all over district conferences. I think it is a theme that, of course, is very dear to Rotarians and Rotaractors, and we will continue to work and strengthen our partnerships, but more importantly, in working with our communities in such an important aspect of our lives as a world. So thank you very much for all. And please stay tuned for more mega meetings in very interesting themes. And we are looking forward to seeing Steve in another opportunity. And of course, we'll see all of you around the world through this Rotary marvelous communications that we have had with these amazing technologies that allow us to work together.
Well, I'd just like to say, Alberto, look, thanks for your moderation. I think you did an excellent job. It's nothing harder than doing it and stepping in when you're not prepared, but I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody. We have the audience open. If you want to say something for everybody, the meeting is over, but we do 3 minutes of fellowship, and then we'll get on with our rest of the weekend. I need to go to a Rotary Foundation seminar in my district. So
good night all from Australia.
Good evening.
Nice.
Enjoy the weekend.
Bye. Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Taiwan.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye,
friends.
everybody.
Well done.
This was a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well
Thank
managed.
you. Bye-bye.
And great
Peace
new
be to all.
ideas about peace
Obrigado,
building.
bye. Aqui, Roberto, Brasil,
Bye.
família.
Roberto.
Bye. By Italian.
Thank you.
So, everybody.
Thank you to all.
Danke.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.